How are we doing? I hope you're good. So I had an idea. I think it was 2 weeks ago or a week ago. I asked you for some recommendations of what you'd like me to post on YouTube and Facebook for longer form, and there are a lot of questions. So I thought maybe I'll just do like a Q&A post. So I'm going to answer your question directly, but answer someone else's, which may help you indirectly, if that makes sense. And if you enjoy this style of video, long form, then I'll keep doing them. I'll ask some questions once a week, ask you to ask me a question, then I'll do a video about it. So I can help you every week and any queries you have on your mind. So with that in mind, I'm going to set a 20-minute timer because sometimes I can go off on tangents and that will just keep me in check. Okay, let's begin. Margaret, I'd like to see exercises for someone with AFib and or pacemaker, please. Canada. Big up Canada, how are we doing? So with AFib and pacemaker, I always recommend, if a client came to me in London, I would make sure they had an all clear from their doctor, their physician, their GP, wherever you are in the world, just to make sure that you're okay to start doing some sort of activity. If you haven't got the okay, then please wait for that, because I'm not a medical doctor and I can't prescribe that. So if you've got the all clear, what I recommend is doing some sort of low intensity steady state. It's known as LISS. And this could be light walking, light cycling, it could be really light jogging. I know pelotons and stationary bikes in homes are really popular these days, so that could be an option. So some sort of low intensity steady state. And if you can do a little bit a few times a week, and then on the off days from that, general walking. So good. So good. Reduces your risk of all-cause mortality. There's so many benefits to just walking. And I do recommend lifting some sort of weights as well. Resistance training, use weights to target areas in the body that you want to work. Glutes, core, arms, legs, the list is pretty endless. So incorporating 1 to 2 days strength as well. And just checking in with how you feel. If you feel like you've pushed it too much one week, then ease off. If you feel like, I've actually got a bit more in the tank, then, you can add a little bit more intensity. But get the all clear and then add low intensity days to your week. Strength, cardio, low intensity, and walking every day. Joyce, who are you? Good question, Joyce. Good question. By the way, this is actually a good question because you might be thinking, who is this guy rambling on to me, giving me health advice? So I like this question. So over the last 8-9 years, I was a personal trainer in a health club in London. So very much working with people from different walks of life, mainly to do with 2 goals: lose body fat, gain muscle. That was the common area that I was addressing. Now within that though, I started delving into stress and anxiety and working with mental health in different companies around London, calling it workplace wellness. Delivered quite a few public talks as well on stress management. Then on the latter side of those 8 years, I worked in a rehab centre. So I was doing corrective exercise in a centre in Greenwich in London. So people would come to me, I'd work with the physios, I'd give them the specific exercises to think long term. How can we find a solution forever and not just a short term? I don't want to see you again, mate. Even though I like you, I don't want you back in this clinic. So I was thinking very prehab as well, preventative movement. So they, essentially never got injured again. Good question, Joyce. Selena, warm-ups. What to do for warm-ups ? What to do for sore post-exercise muscles, i.e. hamstrings. Warm-ups, so think of your warm-up as mimicking the activity you are about to participate in. So a warm-up should mimic what you're about to do at a reduced intensity. For example, if you're going for a run, use your warm-up, warming up your hip flexors, warming up that gait motion, and there's many exercises to do this. If it's at the gym, if you're doing deadlifts or squats or a specific pattern, your warm-up should be warming up your back if you're doing deadlifts, warming up your hip flexors if you're doing some squats, warming up your hips and ankles if you're doing squats. There's many areas I can go into, but think of the rule. What I'm about to do, my warm-up will mimic what I'm going to do at a reduced intensity. Then with the post-exercise as well, like, again, stretch, mobilize, and restore, if you will, the muscles that you've just worked. Once again, if you've done deadlifts, just, maybe put the legs up the wall for 5 minutes and just let your spine decompress. If you've done a lot of leg work, stretch out the hips, stretch out the ankles, stretch out the glutes. Again, many different arenas, but think of your cool down and post exercise as restoring what you've just worked, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answers your question, Selena. Okay, moving on. Carol. I don't like to exercise, but I want to continue living an active life. I'm 73. What exercise routine is essential for that purpose? That's actually a really good question. There's 3 areas that my mind has just gone to. So the first area is to move a little bit every day. And that move a little bit every day, increasing your steps. One of the best things that you can do. Like I said, very good for all-cause mortality. So walking reduces the risk of all causes of death. How amazing is that? Just from increasing your steps. So my first advice for an active lifestyle, get outside, have a little walk every single day. Up to 30 minutes, even 15, 10 minutes is great. Then I want to think about the primal movement patterns that you're designed to move from. Squat, lunge, push, pull, twist, bend, and gait. We've covered gait. Gait is walking, jogging, or sprinting. Those primal movements, I'd like to see, if you were my client, I would get you to focus on them maybe 2 to 3 times a week to start, and just building up body weight movements doing those specific patterns. Squat, lunge, push, so a push exercise, pull, a pull exercise, twisting motion, a bend, and gait. 2 to 3 times a week. And then just making sure you're having fun as well. We think things have to be a chore or things have to be arduous to complete, but for things to be sustainable, an active life forever, we want to enjoy what we're doing. And within that enjoyment, you can do classes with some friends. You could go to a local run club, for example. But to live a true active lifestyle forever, we want to think about, do I enjoy this? Can I sustain this forever? Because then you're going to turn up every single day to participate in an active lifestyle, as opposed to waking up and thinking, I do not want to do that. So I hope that helps. Okay. Jody, mobility, my lower back hurts. So without knowing you personally, I'm not too sure why your lower back hurts, but think of this. Your lower back probably doesn't hurt because of the lower back. It's maybe because of the surrounding muscles around the core. It could be to do with weak glutes, tight hips. So you may see where I'm going with this. Don't think about the lower back as just one entity. The lower back, think about it as the whole body. So your question with mobility, try to mobilize all of the body. Mobilize the upper thoracic spine. Mobilize the hips. Even mobilize down by the ankles. But strengthen as well. We tend to think, okay, flexibility, mobility. But strengthening is actually a long-term solution, because when you strengthen certain areas, to do with the lower back specifically, then areas around the lower back start doing their work, taking their workload. And thus, other areas around the body stop taking the slack from areas that are weak, if that makes sense. So strengthen the core, the spine, but mobilize the hips, the ankles, in conjunction with strengthening. So your low back hurts, but think about mobilizing and strengthening the whole body. Cool. Gigi. Apologies. Flatten and strengthen tummy and core. Super quick but effective morning exercises. I work 62 plus hours a week. Hard worker. I love it, Gigi. Okay, so let me just address the flatten and strengthen tummy. So the first thing to think about is creating some sort of calorie deficit with your nutrition. So fat loss occurs by reducing the amount of calories that we bring into the body. Unfortunately, the body doesn't work in terms of spot reduction. There's not a strong enough evidence to say that if you do sit-ups, then you're going to lose fat there. So we need to think about fat loss as coming from a calorie deficit first. And unfortunately, we can't pick where that fat comes from. Saying that though, what I want you to think about is strengthening those areas as well. So don't just think, okay, I won't bother strengthening them though. Use that for a different purpose. Use it to promote good core activation. Do core to promote good functioning of the spine. So don't just think about flattening and strengthening the tummy to lose body fat. Think about all of the other benefits. That was the point I was getting at. And fat loss, like, is a good analogy to think about. If you place a cup in a bath full of water, the bath represents your body. When you are taking water from the bath with that cup, the water comes from everywhere, right? So you take the water out, it doesn't just come from one place. The water just doesn't dip there. It comes from the whole bath. And that's what I want you to think about fat loss. When you start losing body fat, you tend to lose it everywhere. And there will be a genetic component to where people lose it first, and inversely where people put on first. So think about just the general fat loss. I was about to say initiation, that sounds a bit weird. You know what I mean. Think about calorie deficit as that first thing, then use exercises to strengthen for many other reasons. I think I answered that. But yeah, please check out our latest core series to answer your super quick, effective morning exercises question. I think it was a 4-part series I recently posted. You're going to get a lot out of that, actually. Okay, we're doing well. Halfway mark. Keep it going, Josh. Jules, 68 years old. 8 ortho knee surgeries. Wow, that's a lot. Rotator cuff surgery, now arthritic hip. I want to be able to be stronger and more flexible. So once again, I don't know you personally, but I want you to think about just building yourself up really slowly. Again, it's good to get the all clear from physicians and physios to make sure that, okay, you're in a good spot now to move. Now, if you were coming to me first, I'd see how you move. I'd see your limitations. I would see, okay, where can I build Jules up from? Now, if I knew all of this information, what I would then do is say, okay, we're going to do 1 day a week. That is it to start. Or maybe 1 to 2 days a week. We're going to do some specific movements. For the knee, we can strengthen the hips and the glutes, mobilize the ankle, because the knee is dependent on the health of the hips and the glutes and the health of the health of the ankle. So I'd work those 2 areas for the knee. Rotator cuff, I'd focus on general spinal strength, so upper thoracic strength. You can do external and internal rotational exercises for your rotator cuff as well. But again, I like to think about everything around a certain area. Everything affects everything. So even though you're not working the rotator cuff in the middle back, for example, you're going to get a conditioning effect. So it's going to promote recovery. Again, I don't know you, so I can't really say specificity. And then working the arthritic hip. Again, seeing how you feel. Okay, Jules, how did that movement feel on the squats? Do we need to regress that? How did that movement feel on the lunges? How did that movement feel when we mobilized the hip capsule? How did the glutes feel when we strengthened them? So 1 to 2 days a week, see how you feel, and build yourself up slowly. Add another day as the weeks go by. Know where your start line is, and just work from your starting position, no one else's. Nina, sleep, please. Some nights I wake up and just can't get back to sleep. My mind won't shut off. It's always good to address why. We often think, what could I do? But we overlook the main reason why we're not sleeping well. So if you know that, address that, and then hopefully you will get a better night's sleep. Now, of course, there's much more to it than that. Let's say you address that, the main stressor. What we want to think about is, my best tip to you is try to down-regulate an hour or 2 before bed. Now imagine a bag full of water. The water represents stresses, anxieties, worries, tension and stress, life. And if you're going to bed with that, let's say, full bag, it's not as if I'm holding a bag here. That's not easy to go to sleep with. What do you think will happen? Your mind's busy, it's nagging you. Your body can't relax, you can't get still, you can't get comfortable. Your sleep latency, which is the ability to fall asleep, is just so long. So what we need to do is poke a hole in that bag to release water, to release the tension and the stresses. And we release water from the bag, from your mind, by mindfulness, meditation, breath work, having a hot shower, reading, writing, stretching. Whatever you find preferable for you, to down regulate, to reduce the pressure in your mind. Okie dokie, we're doing well. Holly, good to see you. Fluoride, is it all bad? Teeth cleaning and kids being used for new products that help stop decay. I'm not sure. Peggy, sometimes I miss a balance in my step with my left leg. This is recent, since 6 months. Sometimes I miss a balance in my step with my left leg. Okay, I think I understand. So as you step with the left, you lose the balance. So yeah, that just signals to me that the right leg is dominant. So we want to think about working that left side, unilateral working, which is single side working, to build up the stability. Now, there could be instability in the ankle, and there could be instability in the hips and the glutes. Not just instability, but strength as well. So that left leg tends to be giving out. I believe that's what you're saying, because it doesn't have the capacity, the working capacity, as it steps from the ground, and as the ground gives the leg feedback, that feedback isn't good because the muscles and the joints aren't there to take that feedback. Does that make sense? So we want to think about strengthening the glutes, because the glutes will hold that leg up really nicely. We want to think about strengthening the ankle, because all movement originates from the floor up, right? So if we can address the ankle, mobility, stability, but strength as well, then now we're having a more stable step, more stable gait. So my best bet to you is start working single leg work 1 to 2 times a week. Leave the right leg alone for now until you balance it out. The body always wants to create balance. Again, drop me a message if you want to speak about some specific exercises, Peggy. Okay, Anne, how am I doing on time? 4 minutes. Okay. I hope you're getting some good things out of this. I'm going to take a quick sip. How do I know how many grams of protein I should be using when trying to lose weight and gain muscle? Cool, I just did a video on this very shortly. You should check the video, that you'll get a lot from that. So how many grams depends on activity, but a good starting point for most people is 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram body weight. So you would times 1.5 times your weight in kilograms, and then you're going to get an estimate of how many grams of protein that you should be consuming every single day. And this will be good for maintaining muscle, and this will also be good for losing weight, because protein is the most satiating macronutrient. And what that means is, for example, if you ingest, let's say, a salmon fillet, you eat it, you can still have a satiety effect, feelings of full, up to 24 hours later. So protein keeps you fuller for longer, which will mute cravings and avoid you going for the snack. So it's a really good tool for losing weight. So try that calculation out. How many carbs to lose weight and have enough to fuel weight lifting workout? So carbs alone isn't going to signal losing weight. Now, carbs hold water. Now, you will lose weight if you stop eating carbs. Carbs holds water every time you eat them, if that makes sense. So we can store water through carbohydrates. So I wouldn't worry too much on carbohydrates itself. Think of your whole diet. Think of everything. Don't just think about losing calories from fat, or losing calories from carbs, or losing calories from protein. Think about general caloric reduction, because you'll be in a better place of understanding where you can work. You can go very specific with carbs and fats and protein. Again, I don't know you specific. If you want to drop me a message, I could work that out for you, but I need to know your weight, I need to know height, etc. And then I can do a calculation. Did that answer your question? So think about total caloric reduction. 2 minutes left. Let's go, Josh. By the way, if I don't get your question in, I will do another one of these. So just let me know if you'd like to see more. I could use help with deeper squats. Ankle mobility to start, and then hip mobility. So ankle mobility, all movement generates from the floor up. If your ankles are stiff, everywhere along that kinetic chain, i.e. up that leg, will tend to get stiff. So if we can't get into a deeper squat, my first look with the client would be to look at the ankles, because if you can mobilize and get the ankles loose, now that tibia bone, so the bone leading up towards the knee, can move more free. That knee can now move more free, and the hips can sit lower because there's no restriction in the ankle. The ankle might be restricted for many, many reasons because it's an overlooked area. So think of ankle mobility and think of hip mobility at the same time. Again, please check my previous reels. There are so many different exercises for you. Ankle mobility, hip mobility. And do it consistently as well. Let's do one more. Deborah, anything to support dodgy lower backs? Appreciated. Thanks. Love your energy and enthusiasm. Thank you, Deborah. Anything to support dodgy lower back. So dodgy, maybe you have pain, maybe there's discomfort. I always like to think of the first thing. How does someone's transverse abdominis work? So that's around the belly button. You have the transverse abdominis, which is the main stabilizer for the lower back. Now, a lot of the time, that muscle doesn't work for many, many reasons. Postpartum is a very common reason. Splitting of the abdominal wall, so you lose activation there, and just general inactivity for people. So I actually get the TVA to function first. Again, check some previous reels because I've done a few videos on this. Get that to function first, and what that does is brings back stability of the lower back. Okay, so that's like our first thing we should do, getting the breathing mechanics right with the transverse abdominis, supporting the lower back more. Then we can do, many specific things. I like to think of strengthening the spine, strengthening the hips, strengthening the glutes, because if we can strengthen around the lower back as if it has that corset supporting it. Because if it's weak, it has no corset, it has no support. But if areas around the lower back are strong, including the pelvis, including the transverse abdominis, now the spine has a corset, kind of like a big hug to support it. Again, drop me a message if you want some exercises for that. But think about strengthening around the lower back because you're going to have a big support mechanism for the lower back then. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Let's leave it there. If I did miss a few, but I want to keep these to about 20 minutes so they're absorbable and yeah, they're just quick. I know you're busy. So let me know. Do you want to see more of these? If I ask you, what do you want to know once a week, and then I'll do a big video? Yeah, I think it could be pretty cool. So let me know. I'll leave you there. I hope I answered your questions. And like I said, if you want specific things that I've mentioned today, just drop me a message. My messages are always open. Happy to give you some free advice, or you can come trial out my app as well. All right. Leave it there. Have a great day. Thank you for watching, by the way. And please do let me know if you want to see some more of these.